uploaded yesterday.
Yes, Shrikant.
Yeah, so actually there was a glitch, so it was just uploading those files, but when I tried to download it, it was not allowing me to do that. So I just uploaded all this file individually. You can find all the content in this. Okay, so manual testing and all is uploaded. Okay, so where did we stop in the last class? For we were discussing about some programs, right? So what are those programs? We did this left rotation, right rotation, and we try to find out the sorting and duplicate arrays, copying arrays, finding max and minimum values of arrays, okay, within the arrays. So that we have discussed, and today we'll be discussing about the other programs like finding second highest and nth highest two-dimensional, multi-dimensional jagged arrays, okay. So let's quickly jump onto this, and I'm going to create a program for finding out the second highest element in the array. Okay, I'll show you two approaches here, which would help you to find out the highest of any highest element in any of the positions. Okay, so let's see second highest. I'll just write it. Second highest element. Okay, so can someone give me heads up on this? So how do we do it? So we try to do some sorting, right? So you can apply the same logic. If you want to go ahead with the sorting, that also works. Like for example, if we have print, I'll take a basic example here. So basic set of data, you can take any set of data that you want. Okay, 5, 6. Okay, in this case, second highest would be 5 and the first highest would be 6. Okay, so int I is equals to 0, I is less than a dot length I plus plus. Okay, so in the next element, I'm going to in the next for loop, I'm going to take the elements from the same set, but here I'm going to make like I plus 1. Why did we do this I plus 1? I already explained you, right? So because we would not compare the first element itself. Okay, so that is the reason I'm taking this one. So here I'm just putting the comparison A of I is if it is greater than. So what you want to do here is like you want to compare this element with this element with this element. Okay, so if A of I is greater than A of J, then what I have to do now? I have to swap the values. So for this, I'm going to take the int temp value. Okay, so this is like temp variable, but I'm going to store the value in it. Okay, so int temp is equals initial it's 0. So here I'm going to store A of J, and A of I would become A of J. What is this? So if A of I is greater than A of J, so this value is greater than this value, then what I'm going to do is like I'm going to swap it. Okay, but here it is not greater than. So what I'm going to do is like if the given value is less than, okay, so A of I is less than 2, then what I'm going to do is like I'll swap the values. Okay, so likewise I'll be swapping the values here. Here, and then finally what happens? A of J is like it's going to so come out of this loop. Finally, you'll get a set of it. Though here, you'll get the sorted set. So in that sorted set, what I'm going to do is like I want to find out the second element, right? So for this, what I can do now? What I can do? So directly, I can say that out.print and what is that? I need to just check I plus 1. But what is the I we have here? So we are not defining anything here. So that is the reason why it is displaying this value. Okay. So for that reason, what I can do is equal to 0. I is less than A dot length. So I got all the set right. So directly I can use that, but it would be like some little tricky. So I'm showing you here how do we exactly do it. Okay. So here what is the position I want to find out? I want to find out the position of like second highest element, right? So if it is sorted, then what happens? Like Zeroth index will have the highest one. One index will have the second highest. So here what I'm going to do is like I'll just write a condition here. Otherwise I can just remove this. I can just put it here. Okay. So if I find the value, then I'm going to break it. Okay. So this is like jump statement that we are going to use. Let's see what happens. In this case, will I get 5 or not? I got the 5, right? So which is the second highest element here? This is second highest element. Okay, just I'll change something here. So we can say that nth highest. Then we can discuss about the second highest also. Okay, so just to change this. Now we see you got like you want to find out the second highest. I'm just putting this I is equals to 1. Okay, so in case like I want to find out some element which is like in highest. This is like third highest. Sorry, you'll see the index here and you want to check based on the index. Okay, so what I can do here, tell me if I want to get the output from the input from the console and print it as like output on the console. What is that we can use? Scanner, right? Okay, so let me show you here. Scanner. So next I'm going to ask for the position. Enter the element. Otherwise, enter the nth position. Position of element. Okay. So here I'm going to capture this as like a input from the console. So that is int POS equals to C dot next int. Okay. So because we are trying to capture the integer value. Okay. So position will be in integer values. Okay. So now I'll enter the position here. If position is matching, then I'm going to take that. Okay. So let me execute this program and give the position. I want to find out the position at like you can see now 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 positions. Okay. So I'll enter 4. I can see what is the position of this element after sorting. So it is like you can see this is like 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay. So it's like at the position 4, we got this value. Okay. So before that, I'll just print this so that you can get a clear idea. So we'll use some arrays classes to print it. So what is that? The values that I want to print is like sorted arrays. Now you can see what is the position of it. I'm just going to enter the position here and say 4. Let's see. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4th position. Okay, so we got this value. So it is also kind of like the nth elements that you want to find. Okay, so it's like nth position. In nth position, what is that particular element that we have? Okay, but there is one catch here. So if it exceeds, for example, this is kind of a small assignment for you guys. I'm going to enter 6 here. Okay, so did it enter like did it find out the value which is there at the 6? So this position is not matching, so it is not entering into this loop. Okay, for this what we can go? Can someone tell me what can be done here? Not sure. So before entering this for loop, can we check it? Like what is the position that we want, right? We are trying. Okay. So here what I'm going to do is like position greater than a dot length. if position greater than a dot length or less than a dot length, what we have to do? If I enter greater than a dot length, it will try to do these actions. But what happens here is like you don't get a desired output. That's nothing, but it will accept like position is greater than this value, so it will get into this. What is the condition that I have to put here? Okay, I'll tell you guys. Okay, so we discussed about other things, right? Jump statement, how do we work it? Else, what I'm going to do is like, I'll just say that position. Otherwise, you can say elements. Element not found. Like this. Otherwise, positions. Position exceeds array length. Okay, so we cannot find it, right? So that is the reason I'm just going to throw this error. I'll return this. Okay, I don't want to print anything after this. If it works properly, then that is fine. Otherwise, I'm going to return here itself. Okay, so if it is like position is matching, then it will not get into this else statement. Then it will come here and it will print this sorted set, and then it's going to check for the position and it will print the values. Okay, so let me just show you this program. So I'm entering 5 now. See what is the position of this value. So here position will be taken. Then it will check for the position. What is it? 5 is less than or equal to a dot length. What is the length of this actually? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But minus 1 is nothing but it's going to take 5. Okay. So now you try to enter 6 here. I want to find out the position of the element which is there at and like 6th position element. Okay. So if position exceeds array length. So this is nothing but we are going to capture this as like error. Okay. So we can enter the range between 195. Okay. First element. We got this. Can take zeroth position. You got this. Okay. So you can find out this way also. Okay. This is like nth highest. You can find out nth highest element within the given array length. Okay. So if you want to take 7, 8, 9, then you want to take 10. First position is nothing but 0. Okay. Highest value is like 0. It's like highest position. Like you can see now the highest element is residing at this position because after starting we got these values. Okay. So if you want to find out second, then what you can do is like you can give the position 1. It will bring you the second highest element. Okay. So logic is very simple, guys. Only the thing is like I've taken the array here and I did some sorting here so that I want to sort these values in descending order. Okay. So from large to small. Ascending order is like from small to large. So I'm doing this sorting. Then after I'm just giving the position. So here it's going to give the position value. Like once you get the value of this, once we get the position, and if it is matching, then it's going to bring you the value. From there, I'm going to return this. Okay. So I'm just breaking it. So because I don't want to test with the rest of the values here. Okay. So that is the reason I'm just breaking here. So here in this case, if position is not available, then there is no point of printing these values. Okay. So there is no point of checking for this position. So that is the reason why I'm just checking this basic condition here. So that if it satisfies, then I'm going to sort it. Otherwise, I'll not sort anything. I'll just jump onto this else block and I'll just print this error and I'll come out of this. Okay. So this is like finding the nth highest element. So here we can find out anything. Okay. So it is like first highest, second highest, third highest, whatever the highest value that you want to find out, you can find it. So, but specifically if you want to find out the second highest element. Okay. So for this, we have another program that we can write. So this is like little change in the logic. Okay. So I'll write second. So if they ask you in the interview, then you can let them know like there are some logics that we can apply. Okay. So whichever best way you think, you can put it forward. So here it is just it is kind of like little tricky here. Okay, so when we are discussing about this, it's little tricky here. So we need to first assume that same thing again. Okay, so max and min, we assume some values and we try to compare these values, right? So then what we are going to do is like we are going to just assume some values for these two variables. I'm taking one is like second variable, another one is like sec max and max value. Okay, so here what I'm trying to do is like I'm going to just write a logic. It's a simple logic, guys. Okay, so it's a just simple logic. So here what I'm going to do is like I'll just take a array, and here I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then now I'll take two variables. Okay, so one is like max, another is like second max. Okay, so I've taken these variables. Now what I'm going to do is like I'll assign some values to this. Okay, I'm just assuming that okay, a of 0 is like a max value and sec max is like a of 0. Okay, so I took this value. So here what I'm going to do is like to let's put it in this next line. Okay, so here I took this value and I'm assuming that this is a max value and this is a second max value. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is like I'll run a for loop. Okay. I'll run a for loop to just check number of elements, and here I'm going to take a condition here, and this condition what it does is like it's going to check the values like max value. If max value is less than a of I, okay, then max is equals to a of I. Okay, so max is equals to a of I. But now you see, I've taken this value. Now it's going to compare like 1 is less than 2. Then max value becomes 2 here. Okay, so again it's going to compare the other value. It will again check 2 is less than 3. Max value becomes 3. 3 is less than 4. Max value becomes 4. Okay, but what I'm going to do is like now I want to capture this value as like a second value. So for this reason, what I'm doing is like I'm taking another variable here and I'm going to change it. Okay, now yeah. So here it comes. Okay, 5 is greater than 6. 5 is sorry less than 6. So what happens here? So already we have got like 5 here. Okay, so we got the 5, and here we have 4. Okay, so we are just again swapping the values here. So at the final iteration, so here it becomes 6, and here it becomes 5. Okay, we don't have any other iteration. So what it does is like it's going to break out. Okay, so we'll try to execute this. So otherwise, there is another chance that we can do is like we can, based on the iterations, now we can just put it that we put these lines and up and down. Okay, so that's nothing but just I want to assign the max value first, and then I want to exchange the values of it. Okay, so that way also we can do, but this is the way I'm trying, and we'll see what is the output. Okay, so else this is fine. Okay, but what if we have like if max value is like, again we have to check something on the max value. If sometimes what happens is like max we have two values in it. So let us take like we have 6 and 6. So then in that case what happens? In that case, you see now what will the max value becomes? It max will become 6 and second max will also become 6. So in this case, to avoid this, what I'm going to do is like I'm going to write another else if statement. In this, I'm going to check. Okay, so if max is less than a of I, and so second max should not be equals to the max, then I'm going to enter into this loop and I'm going to put second max is equals to a of I. Okay, so this case is like only checking for the value if we have two duplicate values like 6 and 6, 7 and 7, likewise. Okay, 5 and 5. If we have those values, then what happens now? So max value is less than a of I. So in this case, again, what will become? It's like sec max is equals to, again it will take the value of 5. Okay, so let's see that thing also here. So finally we got the values here. So I'm going to print the maximum is max, and then second maximum. Let's say. Okay, still I go with this approach, guys. This is like feasible because I can find out any value. Okay, any value at this any positions. Okay, if they ask me to find out some value which is at fourth highest value, then simple. This is very simple, right? So now we can just use the position. We have that value here. So you'll go and sort it. That's nothing but swapping the values, and you'll sort the values in a descending order. Then you'll find out which one is the highest value at the position 4. Okay, but this is like, this is kind of like little tricky here. So again, we are going to see, we take the max value, and if that max value is again less than some value, then what I'm going to do is like, to get this second max value, I'm going to take this max value and then push this value. Okay, so in this case, what happens, 5 will be the max second max, and 6 will be the maximum value. So here I'm going to exchange these values, right? So it's nothing but swapping those values. Let's go and execute this program and see what is the output. So here, what is the problem that we got here? Second max value, what is happening? See, first it will come here. Max value, what is the max value here? We have 5. 5 is less than 6. A max is equals to A of 6. And second max is equals to the 6 value I'm assigning it. Okay. To avoid this set of confusions, what I'm going to do is like, first I'm going to put this line forward so that first, whatever the max value is, that I want to assign it to a second max. Then I'm going to exchange the value. Okay. So for example, here you see 5 is less than 4. Okay. For example, now see, we have got some value here, and 4 is less than 5. Sorry. Okay. 4 is less than 5. Then what happens here? Second max is equals to, first it will assign the 4 value. Then again, what is the value that we have is like, it will take the 5 here. Okay. Likewise, it will continue the loop until this length is completed. And if this condition is satisfied, it will do these actions. Otherwise, it will come and it will check for the second max value. Okay. So again, see here, assignment is done only when we have this condition passed. Otherwise, this assignment will remain constant. So that is the reason why again I want to check for the second max value. Okay. So let's go and execute this. I got the second max and the maximum value. Okay. So as I discussed, like now you see, what is the problem here we are getting? We are exchanging those values and we are finding out. So this approach would work when we have only unique values. Okay. So to get this, again, what we can do is like, we can just remove those duplicates and try to find out the second max value. Okay. So this is another case. That is the reason why I was discussing about 2 approaches here. Okay. This will work only when we have unique values. For example, take max value and second max. So to avoid this, what we can do is like, we can just remove the duplicates, then we can do it. But here in this case, here also we have the same catch. See, I want to find out. Say 10, 10. Okay. But here I'm going to give it a try again. Let's say 3. So what is happening here? To avoid this, what we can do is like, we can just take this set and we can remove the duplicates. Okay. So this is like another thing. We have to look into the things carefully. I'm not talking about only this problem statement, but when we have this set of things, what we have to do is like, we have to take the different approaches. Okay. So we have another approaches for this is like, I can take this set, or else I will remove the duplicates. To remove the duplicates, we have these things, right? So you can mark it as like something and you can remove those duplicates, then you can apply this logic. Okay. So, but for now, I don't want to confuse you guys. Just you try to find out the elements, and whichever the element that you want to try it as like the highest element, you can find out them with the help of this logic. Okay. So this will work this way. We can still go ahead with this and try to add the sets collections and remove the duplicate. Then again, take this as like, one of the arrays, and then you start writing this program. Okay. So that we'll discuss down the line when we discuss the collections. Okay. So these are the 2 programs, guys. One is like nth highest and second is like second highest element. You find it. Okay. So here it looks little tricky logic. So that is the reason why I just suggest you to go with this logic, and you can try it for the, like, once you get familiar with this nth highest element, then you can go and try with this. Okay. So this will also work in case if you have this element set in this way. Okay, it will not do any swapping. Swapping is like one other operations that we are performing. After that, we are picking up the value. But here we are not swapping anything. We are just comparing these values. And if we are compared, like, if it is less than, then we are just assigning those values and we are trying to reassign the max values here. Okay. Are you clear with this, guys? Just practice it and you'll come to know how does this work. Okay. So for this, I'll just help you out with one thing. So you can still go ahead and write some statements here to see what is the second max value and max value it is print. Okay, just to understand how does this things works. Okay. And I can see max, second max. Likewise, it will keep on printing the values. 2. It's like assigning the values. Finally, what happens is like, you see, we got these values like second max. Yeah, this is second max and this is maximum value. It is showing up. But finally, what is happening is the next iteration, last iterations, like it is going to check for this value. Okay. So 10 is, what is the maximum value that we have here? 9. And here we have a 10. 10 is, 9 is less than 10. Second max is equals to what happens now value? It will become, what is the maximum value that we have? 9. Okay. So it is printing the 9 value here. So, oh, sorry, I have just written this one. So I need to write next. I'm sorry for this. So let me execute this now. Okay, second max and maximum value that I'm printing here 9, and second max is like it's printing 9. But final iterations, what happens now? So what is the value that we are going to get here? So 9 is less than 10. Max is equals to 10 here. Okay, so if I can print this one, so you can see the clear value of maximum. So let's just print it here, max, and execute this. Okay. So meanwhile, I'll just comment this. I can see maximum value and the second maximum value. Okay, so just to, these are like kind of a debugging that we do, guys. So just to understand like how exactly this is working, so that we are going to write some statements here to see what is the output. Okay, so during debug, we will be applying this sort of techniques so that to understand the values that are being exchanged. Okay, so this is how we'll be finding out the second max and maximum value. We have showed you like two approaches. One is like this will comprise of like, nth highest element anywhere in the element. Okay, anywhere in the elements in the array based on the positions. But here it is like it will only find out two things. One is maximum, another one is like second maximum. Okay, are you clear with this, guys? Guys, I suggest you to just to practice these programs. This is very important. So in case of interviews, these things will be asked. Okay. So you can ask me the questions tomorrow also. No worries at all. So if you are not understanding for the first time, then you can just take this program and try to type the same program and see line by line you have to type and try to see what is the output that you are getting as part of the program. Okay. So you can write these statements like, system.out.println anywhere. So execute it and see what is the output that we are getting and try to again rewrite the program. Okay. And see what is the output that you are getting. Okay. So try to practice like this and you will be like, down the line when we complete the core Java, you'll be like pro in that. Okay. Definitely I can say about it. Okay. So next is like we have two-dimensional arrays. Please pay attention, guys. This is very important. Two-dimensional arrays. So far we have discussed about only one-dimensional array, single-dimensional array. Okay. So now we'll be discussing about like two-dimensional arrays. Okay. So I'm just writing a main method. How do we define the two-dimensional arrays? Int A is equals to new int of 2 of 2. Okay, so this is one way, and other way is like B equals to, so two floor brackets. Okay, so two floor brackets. This is like first row, first column, first row, second column, second row, first column, second row, second column. Okay, so this is like it will be stored internally, it will be stored like this. Okay, so this defines like this is the row and this is the row. Okay, so this is a column and this is the columns that we have. Okay, so I'll show you how does it exactly represent when we look into the memory management. Okay, so here you can see I've defined 2 of 2, right? Int a of equals to new int of 2 of 2. Okay, so internally, so what happens is like this is like first dimension. Okay, so what is the size of it? 2, 0, 1. Okay, so what is that? We have the position here, it is 0, and we have the position here is like, okay, so now it's going to represent as like two spaces. Like you can see 0 is representing 0, 1 here. Okay, we have two positions here, right? Again, you can see. And this will be representing this way. 0, 0 position is, and this is 1 position. Okay, how the values will be stored? In this case, how the values will be stored? I say, if I take int, let us take 0, 1 is equals to 1 of, sorry, this is 0 here, 0 row, 0 column. Okay, so that's nothing but first row, first column, first row, second column, and here second row, first column, second row, second column. Okay, so how these values will be stored here is like, you can say this is like 1, and this is like 2, and this is like 3, and this is like 4. So what it exactly does is like it's going to retain the address of these two values. Okay, so this is going to retain the address of these two values, and this is going to retain the address of these two values. Okay, 0, 0 will bring you 1, 0, 1 will bring you 2, 1, 0 will bring you 3, 1, 1, 1 will bring you 4. Okay, so this is how internally it works. Okay, so two-dimensional array is like this is how it will internally works. So when we talked about like brackets here, so first bracket represents this value, and second brackets like second two brackets that whatever values we have, so it will represent these two values here. Okay, so this will contain the address of the first bracket in the second bracket. Okay, so completely. So this is how the values will be stored. Okay, so this is nothing but the complete set of these values, whatever we have like here. Going out. Okay, so here you can see this is nothing but this is the complete set. It's kind of like boxing the values. Okay, so these two values, whatever whatever stored as part of this array will be here, and these two values whatever stored as part of this array. So this is nothing but this is one dimension, this is like two dimensional. Okay, so in this again now you can see this is representing a complete set, and this is like within this we have a one set which is pointing to the two, because we have what is the size of this? What is the size of this array? Let's go back again. What is the size of array? 2 of 2. Okay, so that's the thing, but this is the complete bracket that we have. Like this is the bracket which is showing, okay, 2 flower brackets, and these are the values which will be stored. Okay, so this is nothing but this is retaining the address of this particular dimensions, and this will have the values of this particular positions. Okay, so that is how it will work. Okay, so what I'm going to do is like I'll just write a simple program here. So I've represented two-dimensional arrays in two ways. Okay, one is like this way, another one is like this way. Okay, so let's try to print the values of A by assigning them. Okay, I'll just assign some values. Let's do 1. We got the values now. Okay, so for this, what we have to do is like we have to use two for loops. First for loop, what it does is like it's going to get the values from the like it's like two-dimensional, right? So in the first for loop, it'll get the address of that particular values from the first dimension. Second dimensional would be like, second for loop would be bringing the values from the second dimension. Okay, so it's nothing but rows and columns. Like first one represents the number of rows and second one represents the number of columns. Okay, so for I'm going to take I is equals to 0. So this for loop is used for number of rows. Okay, it's less than what is that we have 2. Int j is equals to 0. J is less than 2. How do we print the values now? A of I of j. I can go and execute this until the 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, to get this some sort of like alignments. So I'm just adding few more things. Is like after every value I need to have the space, and after completing this for loop. Okay, so I want to have the values printed in next line. So for this I'm going to use this printer. Okay, so it will bring you the next line. So 1, 2 will be printed here. After this, it will take the next line. It will print 3, 4. Okay, so this is nothing but simple alignments at the end. Okay, so okay, this I need to remove this. Print ln is like printing the next line. Print is like it will print on the same line. Alright, 1, 2, 3, 4. So likewise, it will print the values. So this is how we'll do the assembly. Now we'll try to print the values of the arrays that we have defined as part of B. Okay, so I'll just remove here A and I'm going to give the value as like B. We'll get the same output here. See, there is no difference in it, right? So what is the complexity here? So let us take like I'm going to give the value 2 of 0 is equals to 5. So what is happening here? Index out of bound for length 2. You have defined length to 2 here and you are trying to give the value which is exceeding. Okay, there is no space in it and you are trying to store this value. Okay, so which is the line that it's showing? This is the line it is showing the error. Okay, index out of bound exception. So to avoid this set of things, what we are going to do is like we'll define the values in this way. Okay, so we'll define the values in this way. So it will be easy for us to assign the values here. Okay, so but there is another catch, guys. So every time are we going to have this only two defined here? So here it's not that, right? So sometimes it can be sometimes it can be something more than the value that we want to define. Okay, for example, if you want to have this set, you can see 4, 5, 6, 7. So how many number of rows here we have? 4 rows. Number of columns? 2. Okay. So in this case, what happens now? I say 4 rows and 2 columns. What are the values that we have assigned? So based on these values, it's going to print the value. Okay. So here we have defined only 2. But what are the number of rows that we have here? 4. See, now I'm going to change. This is like, static things that I have defined here. Okay. Static thing that I have defined here. So to avoid these things, whether it can it can have number of rows, number of columns. I'm not worried about number of columns and number of rows. In that case, what I need to do is I need to make it dynamic. So for this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this static value and I'm going to give the length of it. Okay. So a dot length. So what is the length of how many number of columns or how many number of rows that we have here? So it's 4. Okay. So now in this case, if I say j is less than 2, okay, j is less than 2. So there can be sometimes what we see is this is kind of like a jagged array. Okay. So jagged array in the sense it is not a proper number of rows we have. No, there is no equal number of rows and no equal number of columns. In that case, what we call it as a jagged array. Okay. So we'll discuss about jagged arrays little later. But how do we address these things now? So this is anyway 2-dimensional arrays. So 2-dimensional arrays with the jagged arrays. Okay. So for this, we have another approach we'll discuss in the next problem statements. That's nothing but when we discuss about the jagged arrays. Okay. For now, I'll just make it as static values. Okay. So are you clear with this, guys? How do we define the 2-dimensional arrays?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So let me just show you 3-dimensional array. After that, we'll discuss about the jagged arrays. 3-dimensional array, you can say multi-dimensional. Multi-dimensional is again, we can put more number of brackets there. Okay. So if you have more than 2, more than 2 defined the bracket set of square brackets, then we call it as multi-dimensional. Okay. So I'm going to discuss about 3-dimensional. To save our time, I'm just taking this simple program in 2-dimensional and copy pasting it here. And just to make some changes here is I'm going to add one more. Here the assignment will become little tricky. So it's 0. Zero of 1. We are done with 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0. So here again I have to take 0, 1, 0. So I'll take them as 3-dimensional. So it will be okay. So here I'll just comment it. I'll explain about this. How do we define the 3-dimensional in this way? But here we'll try to do it and we'll try to see what is the problem and we try to assign values like this. Okay. So how does this internally works is I'll explain in the diagrammatic representation. Let me just give these values first. It should be 0. We have 1. Oh, yes. 5. Let me copy this and paste it here and I'll make another set here. So it's 0, 0. Zero. It's 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1. And then after 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1. After this, again we have to use other set of things like here. So we are done with the zeros, then we have to go with the 1. So this is little tedious, right? So you can see that how we are defining these tedious things now. So what I'm going to do is I just want to show you this is the problem then we are trying to, where we are trying to assign the values. Okay. So first we'll discuss about internally how this will be storing the values. Then I'll show you how do we define these values in this way. Okay. When we are going with the 3-dimensional arrays. Okay. So this approach you see it is very tedious. We cannot properly align them, or we cannot give the values based on this dimensions that we have defined. Okay, so we'll go to this diagrammatical representation, then I'll explain about like how does it exactly works. Okay, so just give me a second, guys. Yeah, I'm back. So here, now you see, if I define any values like this, let me just take an example. Int a is equals to int of 3, 3, and 3. Okay, so 3, 3, and 3. So what it does is like, it's going to first create, it's kind of like a here, up top one. Okay, so in this, what is the size we have defined? 3. This is one block, this is one block. Okay, so now again we have like the other dimensions, like there are like 3 positions that we have. Okay, so what it does is like, it's going to create the positions for this second dimension, what we have defined. Okay, this is kind of like first dimension, this is second dimension. Okay, so in this, what is the dimension, what is the size that we have given here? 3. Okay, so again it will go and create spaces for this. Okay, so this is like second dimension. So now we have 3 positions here. For every block, we have 3 positions defined. Okay. So for our convenience, I'm just going to copy this. Here we have one. Here we have one, which is pointing to this. And here we have one. Okay. So this is for this one. And this is like this one. So likewise, again, we have like 3 dimensions, like all these 3 sets, whatever we are defining as part of this particular block here, which is representing as 2 dimension, will have spaces 3. This will have spaces 3, and this will have spaces 3. And here also we have the spaces 3. Okay, spaces 3, spaces 3, spaces 3. Okay, number of positions that we have defined here, like for every block we'll be having 3 spaces. Okay, so here it's like space constraint. We can just take it as like a new diagram. So there I'm going to take it. Okay, so int equals to new integer of so this first dimension and this second dimension. This is the third dimension. We'll try to copy them. Let's make a little bigger. So let me make it small blocks here. Okay, so this is like first dimension. And this is like second dimension of first block. This is like second dimension of second block. And this is like third dimension of second block. Now we have the final dimensions. Okay. Okay. So now we say this will be pointing to this one. and this will be pointing to this one, and this will be pointing to this one. And this will be pointing to this array, and this will be pointing to this third dimension, this third dimension. So this is like second to third, second to third, and second to third, and third to third, third to third, third to third. Okay, so actual values will be stored here. Okay, so if you say 10, now you can easily point out the values. Okay, so this is like 0, and this is like 0, and here the position is like 0. Okay, so 0 0 0. Okay, so now we can go back to this, and you can see 0 0 0. This is nothing but 1. Okay, the value is like 1 we are storing here, and this is like 1, and here we have 2. So here, what is this? This is 1, and this is 2. So likewise here, what is that value that we have here? 0, 1, and 2. 0, 1, and 2. So this is 1, and this is 2. This is 0, and these are only positions, guys, not the values that I'm talking. Okay, positions. Okay, so if I say 0 0 0, what is the value of it? Let me assume like this, the value that we have is like 10 here. If I say 0 0 1, the value is what is the value that we are storing here? 20. 0 0 and 2. If I say this, we have a 30. Okay, so likewise all the values will be stored in this formats. Okay, so here it becomes very clumsy when we try to assign the values like this. Okay, so what is the reason behind this? Is like now we cannot remember this, right? What is the position if you are going to put all these things? So to avoid this, we have another easiest approach to define an array and create an array and declare the variables here. So declare the values for that particular array. How do we define? Is like now you see this is representing two-dimensional array. Only the simple thing you have to do is like add one more bracket. Okay, so you can add one more bracket here. Here to increase it. Got it? Now it is very simple, right? How does this exactly define here? So simply I'll show you in the diagrammatic representation. Here we have different set of things. Okay, so this is different and this is different. So here we have defined the dimensions, like size of those particular particular dimension, size of that particular dimension. Here I did not define anything, but how is it storing the values here? See, back to this and take another. See, what are the values that we have defined over there? So it's just said equals to putting 1, 2 is like 4. Then we have this one. Okay, so now this is like first bracket that we have. Okay, so first flower brackets, close and end. So it will create one space of it, and next we have like one bracket out of it. So how does it create now? So it will have one space here, and now this is going to give the spaces out of it for 2 and 3 values. Okay, so 0 0 and 1. 0 0 0 0 0 sorry 0 0 0 0 0 1 and 0 0 0 here 0 0 1. So it's like it's going to identify based on that number of dimensions that we have here. Okay, sorry guys, here we have one other thing here, this one state. Okay, so this is pointing 0 0 0 0 0 1. So here 0 1 0 0 1 1. Okay, so likewise it's going to show the values. I just missed out here, guys. So there is the one thing that I have added here. Okay, so let me just give this positions here, then we can clearly understand. Okay, so 0, and if you have 0 here, and this is 1 here. Just corrected it, guys. What is the value here? We have 1, 2, 3, Okay, likewise, the values will be stored. And the other thing is like, guys, so what is the essence of, here we are trying to put the values in this way, but when I try to put this, like, when I try to execute this program, so it will it throw error or not? Let's try it. Okay, and try to fix it. How do we fix this set of things? Because we have another dimension, right? For each and every dimension, we should have one for loop. Okay, so this for loop will iterate this particular bracket. That's nothing but the first dimension, and this will iterate the second dimension, and this will iterate the third dimension. Okay, we have dimensions here, so it's going to take the values. Okay, so what are the values that we have? 2. K plus plus. Now I'm going to put K here. Let's go and try to execute this program and see if we get any errors and how do we address that. But it said 1, 2, 3, 4, and we have like index out of bound exception. So what is happening here? So one index out of bound exception. So this is the length that I have given. Is like higher. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So how it is working now? So 1, 2, 2. Okay. So is it the same when did I showed it here in the same, like you can see the representation, right? Diagram representation. One dimensional, that we have like 2 dimensional, and that we have 3 dimensional. Okay, so this is first, second, and third. What is the spaces for this? Is like this is 1 and this is 2, and here we have like separate things for this 0 and separate spaces for this 1. Okay, so dimensions that we have defined here. Now it is very important to understand this, guys. Now you see that we got some set of errors here, and we cannot make it as like a static thing. So this array could be growing here. Okay, this array could be growing. For example, you see, I'm going to put one more thing here, 5, 6. And I would be closing this. See, where are those 5, 6 values now? You are missing them. If I say 3, so what is happening here? Index out of bound exception. Okay, so where is that value that I need to change here? Shall I change here and see? You got it right? See, now what is this happening is like we are confused here, and we like kind of a problem that we are going to face when we have this jagged arrays. Okay, so this is 3 dimensional, and still we call it as like jagged array because we are not having the dimensions properly defined here. Let me just go ahead and try to put it in a format. Still I need to define this here. So after this for loop, I just close this. Have one more bracket defined here. See, this is 3-dimensional, but yet how many rows we have, how many columns we have? If we don't have defined number of columns, like columns are not equals to rows, in that case what we say is like it's a jagged array. Okay? So jagged arrays can be something we can define, like which does not have a defined, like which cannot have both columns and rows matching. Okay, so we'll discuss about them, but here I'll just make it as like little easier. So easier array size so that you can understand. We have 3. Okay, so 3 into 3. Okay, 3 into 3, but in 3-dimensional array. Okay, so here also we can achieve this, like you can make it like 3 into 3. So there you have to define one more value here in 2-dimensional arrays. Okay, so here is like 3-dimensional array. We are defined like proper array definition has been done here. Okay, so that's the reason we are able to see this one. In certain cases, like for example, if you have more than like this particular row, we have 2 more columns more. Here particular row we have 1 more column. Here particular row we have only 2 columns. So that's nothing but jagged array. Okay, we'll discuss about how do we define this jagged arrays in the next program. So are you clear with this, guys? So how do we define these arrays and how do we print the arrays? This is like first dimension, second dimension, and third dimension. So we have to set the values based on this. Okay, how many number of brackets that you are putting here? This all comes under one bracket, and here we have three values. Okay, three values inside this. This is nothing but two-dimensional. Will have like three values: 1, 2, and 3. So that is the reason why I'm defining as like 3. So inside this bracket we have three values. Okay, so this is kind of like, this will be considered as a value to this, and this particular biggest one, whatever we have like in the array what we have defined, right? This is the last array that we have defined. This is third dimension. This is the size actually. Okay, size in the sense I'm just talking about the length. So length of that particular array. So here in this case, if you take this one, so this would be the length of it. Okay, so if I take the last one, this would be the length of it. Okay, so here we have the values. So I'm just trying to explain you, like whenever we are trying to print the arrays, so it will be printed based on the length. Okay, the positions and the length of that particular elements. Okay, so I mean, like we have defined some arrays and we have length, positions, and the values. Okay, so yesterday we talked about it, right? What is the length? What is the length? Whatever we define as part of like declaration. This is nothing but length. Okay, so what is the position? So if you are taking length as 3, the position would start from, the index would start from 0. That's nothing but, if you have 3, we can say 0, 1, 2. Okay, that is those are the position. And the values are like, what are the values we are trying to store as part of arrays. Okay, so let me just change these values again so that you can understand it easily. Because we are talking three things at a time. Okay, so these are the values and these are the positions, and whatever we have like rows and columns. Okay, so columns, these are the actual length of it. Okay, length of the array. Okay, so let me go with jagged array. So what is jagged array? So I'll go here. The simple example is this is jagged array. Okay, so here itself it is jagged array. So let me create one more thing here. So just what is jagged array? I'll explain here. So we have so here we may have two things, and the dimension will have like two spaces in it. So in this we have 3. Here we have 2. Here we have 4. And here we have 2. Here we have 3. And here we have 3. Okay. So this is nothing but jagged. Okay. So this is one kind of jagged. So it's like we do not have a proper dimensions defined. Like a proper dimensions, like we have defining the values in the dimensions, but we don't have a proper size of proper number of columns or proper number of rows. Okay, to address that, what we do is like we have another approach. We'll take the lengths of each and every bracket. Okay, we'll take the length of each and every bracket. Okay, so here I'm going to create a jagged array. And take this one as the example. I'll change only one thing, guys. Okay, so here what is that? I've taken 1, but to get the length of this, particular array, what I can do is like I can take the function like method b dot length. Okay, I got the length of it. What is the length of it? This is 1. I want to get the length of this particular dimension. This is second dimension. How do I get the length of this second dimension? See, first we get with the b dot length. Okay, so remember this carefully, guys. Okay, to get the second one, what I need to do is like I need to rely on this. Okay, so because now I just got this length of it. Now to do the iterations, like to complete the second whatever the dimension that we have specified as like second dimension. So to get the length of this, what I'm going to do is like I'm going to use a function method called b of I. Okay, b of I dot length. So when I say b of I dot length, this is like b of 0 dot length. B of 0 dot length is like b of 0 is like this is the b of 0. Okay, so here I'm going to get the length of this second dimension. Okay, so now instead of using this 3, what I'm going to do is like I need to get the length of this, right? So first I need to get this length. After that I need to get the length of this, and then I'll get the length of this. So for this, what I'm going to do is like I'm going to use b of I of j dot length. Okay, first is like its complete dimensions length, and second is like it's going to get the second dimension length, and third is like I'm going to get the length of this particular length. Then here b, if I say b of 0, 0, 0, it will bring this value. B of 0, 0, 1, it will bring this value. Okay, so then it's like b of 0, 1, 0, 0, 2. So it will bring this value, and it's like it will become 0, 1, 0. Then it's like it will keep on completing this. You know, it will keep on rotating, completing the loops based on the dimensions. So once it is failing, then it will break it and it will go and check for the length of this. Okay, so again it will go and check for this b of dot length. Still it is like 1. Okay, so it will try to increment. If we have any values here, like anyways we have like b of 0 dot length. So 0 it's like 1 becomes like 1 is less than the length of it. Then it will keep on iterating this loop until this conditions is false. Okay, so let me execute this program and see what is the output of it. Will you get the desired output or not? We have some problem here. What is that? Okay. We got the output, right? Now it's like dynamic. So you can put n number of dimension, like n number of values in this. I'll put like some 10 here, and then I'm going to put some value here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it can be anything. Okay, so it can be anything. It's not mandatory that we should have defined set of sizes for each and every dimensions. Okay, so here I'm going to put only 1. You need not to worry about anything now. So it will print the values. So this is nothing but Jack dynamic. Okay, so first it will take the length of this particular dimension. This is like highest dimension, the third dimension. I'm talking about like highest dimension because here we have defined only 3. But in case if you define multi-dimension, okay, so multi-dimensional, this is like multi-dimensional. See, what I'm going to do is like I'm going to add one more bracket here. Okay, so this becomes multi-dimensional. So for this, I need to add one more for loop because the number of dimensions that we have, those many number of for loops we should add. Okay, so let me not confuse you here. I'll just remove this one. So now I'm going to remove this dimension. 2 or more is nothing but multi-dimensional. Okay, so just here we are talking about like 3 dimensions. So here it's like first dimension, this is second dimension, and this is third dimension. First dimensions will get the length of the first dimension, and if you say b dot length, okay, so second for loop will get the length of the second dimension, that is b of I dot length. Okay, so we are relying in this number, like whatever we are going to get as part of this value, so that we are going to take it as like a value here. B of I is nothing but it will get inside to that particular dimension. So this is, it will go to the second dimension, it will get the length of it. So here b of I of j dot length is like it's going to get inside the 2 dimensions, first third dimension, second dimension. Then it will first dimension, second dimension, third dimension. Okay, so this is nothing but the third dimension, and it will get the values. Where are we printing the values? Here we are printing the values. Okay, so try to practice on this, guys. So I can understand like this is the, like when we discuss about these things at the first time, you may not understand, but the thing is like practice it and let me know. I'll try to repeat it tomorrow. Okay, so I'll try to repeat these things tomorrow, and I'll show you like how do we exactly address the other issues also. So here we don't get any index out of bound exceptions because we are just getting them dynamically. We are not putting anything like static. We don't have any values defined here. So it will dynamically get the values based on this array size, dimension, and the values that we have inside. Okay, so I'll stop it here, guys. So we are done with the arrays. Tomorrow I'll just recap these arrays again, and then we'll see a few more programs. And we have a lot of things that we discuss as part of RS when we look into the strings also. Okay. So from tomorrow, we'll be starting with the strings. I'll just recap this array, then I'll again come back to the strings.
Okay,
Okay.
Shikhar.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. I'm going to upload these programs today. Let me do it right away.